record. It's getting there first next time. So Friday night in the UK, Friday evening in the UK, we've got bloody snow. Can you believe it? No, it's not settling, but it's so cold. Friday afternoon for you, Brice. We were meant to be having Nick Alvia from Good Lion TV with us, but unfortunately he's hurt himself. So now we can just talk about him instead of with him. Only joking. How are you doing, Mark?
Well, you know, it's been quite a studious day. And then for people who have less than 5 children, you won't understand what it's like when they all text you at the same time. Give me a lift here, give me a lift there. Can you do this for me? And I'm like, I'm doing a show. But yeah, it's been, since I last saw you, I have seen precisely 7 UFOs. I filmed 4 of them. I've written a new poem and I've had a very strange week, basically.
We think we can all talk about our strange weeks. I think we've all had a few strange weeks. How are you doing, Brice?
I'm good. It is not cold here in Georgia. It's actually beautiful outside. So y'all are welcome to come visit anytime you want. So I'm good. I'm good. Well, last night was new moon. And so that's, we keep up with the moon schedule for our Ashtanga yoga. So I got to sleep in this morning. I didn't have to practice because we don't practice on moon days. So I got up a little later and did laundry and, you know, just now I'm here with you guys. So I'm excited. It's been a very wild week for sure. This has been a wild week.
I think everyone, you know, that when you look at sort of comments and what people are saying, and it's fascinating sort of seeing in one respect, and this will probably come out all wrong, but it's Friday afternoon and I'm tired. So in one respect, there's so many things we can blame things on or make excuses for. So it's the moon, it's the ascension symptoms, it's the, what's the other thing, the solar flares that are coming in, it's this and that. But I don't mean blame in a bad way. It's just really, I heard you talking about this on one of your other shows, Brice. I can't remember who it was with now, but where it's, you take all this information in, but equally look at yourself as well, sort of not sort of passing the buck over too much. How do you two balance that? How do you think people, how do you personally balance that, Mark?
I kind of go dark. I go quiet. You know, it's been a very sort of internalized week for me, and I don't want, you know, I mean, my head's been all over the place, and I know there's stuff coming up and things like that. So I try not to speak to too many people because I don't want to upset anyone.
That's something we learn as we get older, isn't it? When to not talk. Yeah.
My nan always said, least said, quickest mended.
That's very.
My mother used to always say, silence is golden. Silence is golden. Yeah.
I'm still learning that one. I think.
Me too.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
You said you're having a week off the other week, and then I saw 20 videos go up.
I know, and this is a sort of thing. It's like I'm finding it quite difficult to say no at the moment because my family will take the piss out of me because they say, I'm like, oh, it's so interesting, it's so exciting. That's what I'm like, and they're like, everything's exciting when they're taking the piss out of me and mimicking me. But that's the thing. I say I'm going to have a break, and then there's so much interesting stuff to chat about that I can't quite resist it. And I say yes. So what about you, Brice? How do you balance that? How do you balance taking on board all these influences, but without sort of getting rid of?
I'm still trying to figure that out. I feel like I've been trying to figure that out for 15 years now. But I will say, before you talk about being busy, of course, the Cassiopeans say that, believe it or not, right now, this is our resting period. Because pretty soon we're going to be going 90-0 when there really is a shakeup, a big time shakeup that we just don't notice, but everybody notices. And so that's kind of scary to think, oh, well, this is supposed to be our resting time because it doesn't feel like it. But no, so you know, I've had a lot of fortunate things happen to me in my life. One of them being where I've had the opportunity to spend a lot of time in India studying myself really through the yoga practice, and nothing will force you to sit in the uncomfortable parts of you than being a Westerner stuck in a small town in India. And I don't mean that in any disrespectful way. It's just the cultures and the customs are so different from anybody in the Western world. And when you're in a small town and all of a sudden you have to be uncomfortable with the exterior, it forces you to then sit and go deeper on the inside. And I know for me, I struggle a lot with I've talked about this on my channel. I do have the propensity to go into anxiety I do have CPTSD. I have been diagnosed with trauma disorders. And so I know that about myself. And so the one thing I know, and the Yoga Sutras do talk about this, Patanjali, who wrote the sutras 5,000 years ago, he spoke about how to live a totally peaceful life, you have to be completely trusting in God, in the divine. And so I know that when my anxiety comes up or when my fear starts to come up, that's me showing myself where I'm out of alignment and where I'm not trusting. Because even in the most harrowing of circumstances, if the trust was completely there, you wouldn't fear. Does that make sense? Like you wouldn't be afraid. And so that's where it doesn't stop the anxiety from bubbling up. It's not like that's just a magic mantra that just makes it go away. It's a way for me to reflect and to sit back into an understanding that I am divinely protected. We all are. I have a beautiful relationship with Archangel Michael. I've seen him around me my whole life. And up to this point, at 39 years old, if I turn around and look at my life, I've always been guided. Even in the situations where I thought everything was going bad, it was over, nothing could ever get better. It was just a transitional phase into something better. And so I have to remind myself, this is all, in my opinion, everything that's happening to us right now is in the hands of the divine. Yes, we are a part of it. We have to be a part of it because we are fractals of that divine. But, and that then comes to trusting your own higher self as well, and not your lower self. Your lower self will get you into trouble every time. It's your higher self. So, so yeah, it's just sitting back with that, sitting in it, and just, and I told you, I'll be careful about what I say, because I know in the UK it's a different laws, but I've been doing the small amounts of a certain food that grows in nature.
I want to do a little impression of it. Okay, so does that look good?
Yeah. Okay, I'll say it this way. When I eat, let's see, when I eat actual pizza, I hate using pizza as an example because we know what that is, but actual, like, I like to put mushroom toppings on the pizza. That's how I'll say it. And so I've been doing that over a week now, just tiny little amounts, and it's been amazing. I cannot, it has been really good for me. It's really allowed my overthinking brain to kind of relax a little bit, so I can settle into certain feelings and emotions and actually experience them so that I can resolve them within myself.
That's really interesting. And one of the tips I like that approach that you do as well, Brice. Mine's on its way. But the other thing I love is the Byron Katie, is it real? And asking yourself about that. So is the stuff I'm seeing, is it real? And as we all know, I'm really lucky. I'm surrounded by lots and lots of lovely animals. And so, for example, this week, I've had loads of people messaging me saying, oh, my animals are acting really extreme. They're doing that, and it's because of this. And I will go back to them and sort of say, are you sure? Or have you just not let them out in the garden for a poo? You know, it's like, and in all seriousness, it is really important that you don't miss the obvious stuff. So of course we are all affected by the different energies, but equally sometimes your dogs are howling at you or barking at you because you haven't let them out in the garden. You know, you've got to make sure you're ticking off the common sense things as well first, if that makes sense.
Well, this last 2 years has been the best example of this kind of thing going on that I've ever seen. There was a friend of mine died a few months ago, and then I got a phone call from somebody saying, oh, it's the Illuminati, they did this and they did that. And I was like, maybe she just, died. You know, patterns everywhere. Oh, the devil's here, the devil's there. I mean, yeah, he is, but sometimes people just die. Sometimes things just, I mean, it's one of the bugbear. I did a video about 6 months ago because it was a really nice guy that rung me and asked me advice on his business, and I was like, because I worked out that he was about 30,000 in the hole, and he was funding these next projects, and they were just funding the last one. He was not getting ahead, and then I found out that he had 30K of XRP, and I said, why don't you just sell the XRP and get your business back straight? He said, no, because the XRP is going to be worth $100,000 per thing tomorrow. And I said, well, that's manana, mate. You can't live on manana. You can't live on inshallah. You've got to seize the day, and that's what I think God's waiting for us all to cop onto.
Oh,
tomorrow never comes. Yeah. Tomorrow never comes.
What about now?
Yeah.
I mean,
and owning it, and owning And understanding that, you know, yes, there's all this spiritual stuff going on, but sometimes, you know, kids just trip up and scrape their
We've
knee.
chosen to be back here in human bodies. If we all believe what we all preach about, we've chosen to be back here in a human body.
I wouldn't have chose this one.
Yes, well,
I'd have been 6'2".
yeah,
I've been hidden here in a dwarf-like body just to keep me out of everybody's way.
Oh, yeah, I must say I've seen a few pictures that I would have chosen had I thought more about it at the time. But if we have done that, we are meant to live human lives, and therefore you've got to get onto it now. And we were talking yesterday with Wendy, weren't we, Brice, about taking action is often the missing link that people forget. And you know, it's all very well joking about it, but we've had so many people that are gonna do this, are gonna do that, and when the XRP does, when their crypto materializes, when the gold background is, when we'll do this, I'm going to that. We'll go and do it now.
Yeah, get on with
it now.
I mean, I did that course last year, how to monetize what's already in your head, create a new income stream and become sovereign quickly. It's not the snappiest title, but at the very first lesson, there were, I think, 250 people on the Zoom call. And I said, out of 250 of you, maybe 5 will finish this and be successful. The rest of you are going to fail. And they were like that. But it's 7 months later, and I was right.
Yeah.
Because people, that's what people do. They grab something quickly and then forget about it and then get distracted. And the next shiny thing comes along, which is why everybody's chasing Intel. It's like Intel, give it up.
Yeah.
You know, I just can't be arsed with Intel.
I'm getting that way too, Mark. And I had somebody comment on my Twitter because I had a DeSantis t-shirt on yesterday. And Mr. DeSantis was one of my high school teachers. And that's why I have a hard time calling him Governor DeSantis, because he's not that much older than me, but yeah, he will always be Mr. DeSantis. Like, even if I met him again in person and he told me to call him Ron, he would still be Mr. DeSantis because he was one of my teachers.
He's a legend.
I know. And so I'm super proud of him. Of course, a lot of Americans are proud of him anyway, because he's really is like standing up for what is right. And who knew that Florida, the state that looks like a genitalia, would end up being like the rock star state of the MVP of the United States, because they're literally saying, leave people alone, live and let live, right? Well, and so I had my DeSantis t-shirt on, and Stephanie and I were laughing about it. Somebody commented, I hate something like, I'm paraphrasing, I hate to break it to you, but he and 30 other governors have been like replaced, right, with doubles. And I commented back and I said, if we don't know this as fact, we should not be spreading misinformation. He's got kids, he's got a wife. Like, this is just bullshit at this point. Like, if we don't know this is fact, and what has he done that would cause him to be replaced? He hasn't shown any signs of being part of this club, right? Like, I know my governor here in Georgia is part of the club. The reason why I know that is because of the machines he bought for the, I'll be careful about how I say this, but for the competition that is placed every 4 years to see who is going to run the CEO. He's going to be the CEO of this corporation. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Those machines. My governor bought those from China. Yeah. So that tells me he's dirty.
It wasn't from China.
Or wherever.
Where was
it from?
China.
Oh, okay. China.
Oh, I mean, we've talked about this a lot, haven't we, Brice? It has got ridiculous now. I mean, one, you can rewrite the whole population of the world, because no one that's died has actually died. They're all in witness protection, every single one of them. Every man is a woman, every woman is a man, you know, I mean, the thing is, what's happened, I can see why my husband laughs at it all, because you don't know anything and your head's in the sand, and then you start to learn, and everything, you go too far the other way, and then you hope that people come back to some sort of balance. And I think we've got to be so careful that there's so many rumors going around and people talk about it as if it's fact, and most of it's not fact. We don't know. And how much of it has actually been proved to be right yet? I mean, yes, some of it, we know some of it is true, but not all of it.
Yeah.
I'm guilty of sharing stuff that I haven't factually researched, and somebody pulled me up on it the other day, and I said, look, I'm not sharing this because I'm saying it's factual. I'm saying that this is information that I think is aligned with what I know about what's going on in the world. I haven't got the resources to go and properly fact check any of these things, but this is aligned with that, and it's interesting, and that's what I've been doing on Telegram. But I think if people spent more, what people should be doing right now is educating themselves.
Yeah.
Right. So before this call, can I share a screen with you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Before this call, I've been listening to this lecture, which I'm going to recommend to everybody, which is Out of Babylon with David Straight. I'm on part 2. I think there's about 8 parts. And David Straight has worked with Trump. He's a common law expert. And I just love his style. And that's what I have in the background, you know, because I know quite a bit about common law, but I'm still learning, you know, and I think this is one of the things we need to be doing as a people, is really getting on top of things like your rights. You know, what are your rights? What is your constitution? Do you know your constitution? What you know, where do you stand? What do you say? That kind of thing. Because you were talking about, before we started, you were talking about the importance of teachers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I'm studying all the time.
Same.
Especially when I'm in a sort of a downswing like this week has been. I just go, okay, I'm just going to switch off, and I'm going to sit and I was watching one of Brice's videos this week, and I could, because you did all the hard research for us, right, on Magdalene and stuff. So I'm like, that's great, you know.
And I was going to say, like what you said about like a lot of the stuff that I believe about Mary Magdalene, I don't have a way to thoroughly prove it. And I say that in the videos, like, I can't prove this, but I believe she's buried in Ottawa, Canada, because of some other information I've been given about the American continent. So I know what you're saying, Mark. Like, I will share that with the audience, but I always say, like, I can't prove this, but this is what I'm finding. So don't be shocked if it turns out that Florida is fucking Egypt and Georgia is Egypt. And we've been totally, you know, what did the military back channel say? Like, mirror everything. They've moved things around to try to create a different timeline. The fact that I now fully believe in my gut that the person we know as Jesus or Yahshua was never crucified.
Mm-hmm.
He was never crucified. He lived in the 1,000 years of peace, which is a piece of Tartaria. And they changed that story to make it, you know, what are they doing? Drinking the blood, eating the body. What is that?
Cannibalism. And in Catholic law, that is actually the blood and the flesh. It's not a representation. It's actual. Yeah. I know.
Isn't that interesting?
That's why I always had a real aversion to Catholic churches, like always. I was like Damien going into the church in The Omen. I just couldn't.
Yeah, and I've never taken, and I think, you know, the educating yourself, when we talk about the educate yourself, whatever you're passionate about. I mean, I've been doing loads of, because we've got a lovely plot of land here, loads more research on vegetables and things about, you know, so I can be a little bit more planned than I was last year about what I plant where and where in the garden they should be planted and things like that. The natural remedies, the healthcare system, the education system, whatever is important to you and your family at this time is really important. And we were talking about, you know, community, the beauty of the communities, of which what we're all doing here is part of a community, is not everyone has got time to research everything about everything. So the idea is you take and research what you're passionate about and then share that with people. And then your friends or other members of the community will take the bits that they're good at and they're really drawn to and share that. And then between all of us, we all put all the bits of the jigsaw puzzle together. And that's what's so good, is being able to share that information so that we've all got natural, you know, inclination to research different things. So go with that and do your little bit and then share your bit of the jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah.
Sorry, Brice.
No, go ahead.
And I was going to flippantly say, if anybody watching this wants to know what's going on in the world, just go and read my poems. It's a lot quicker.
Yeah.
It's all in there. I did a 60-second poem this week. It sums up the whole situation. And then you can go and do your gardening.
Exactly.
I was about to say, Mark, I think, Mark, you and I have had a lot of very similar experiences spiritually. And for me, I think what drives people to want to understand is when there is something happening so personally and intimately to you, and you want answers. And so that's what really, even before YouTube, before the Great Awakening, that's when I started looking into things. If you had told me 5 years ago I was going to have a YouTube channel, I would have laughed at you. But I was already looking into these things because I knew that something wasn't right. I wasn't thinking about the politics. I wasn't thinking about medicine. There was something about the reality of our hologrammed bodies that wasn't accurate, because I had experienced all these things with other otherworldly beings, attacks, whatever you want to call them, as a child, that I was like, no, I know what I saw. I know what people see around me. I need to figure out what really is going on. And I think that's what actually, I always, you know, R.I.P. Jordan Maxwell, he just passed away. He was really the one, his lecture on the cult of Saturn was the one that actually really started to wake me up. But I had already been looking into stuff like this. And so I think you're right, Catherine. I think when you feel like you're curious about something, start there, because you're going to then bring in a perspective to this whole system, this whole bigger picture that maybe the three of us aren't even looking at. And so I think, and I want to bring up too the whole idea of junk conspiracy. There is such a thing as junk conspiracy that the other side will put out to make us look like idiots.
Yep.
That happens.
Yep.
That does happen. And so what, yeah. Sorry, I mean, did I interrupt you?
No.
You can't. It's excited, Mark. You can't sit.
Yeah, and so, you know, when we're, and I think too, like, what happens too when we're hearing all these stories from all these different people, all these different truthers, this intel, it does, from the other side's perspective, they're winning because it's taking the responsibility away from you. Does that make sense? Like, if you can actually sit and work on what you feel like you can work on yourself, and not just follow all these, you know, different fantastical stories, then that's when things change. Does that make sense?
It does.
Completely.
Yeah, we've got to get away from this guru thing, you know. But I see it. I see it everywhere. I've met people in the streets who go on about certain people on YouTube and as if they're God, and I'm like, no, it's just another bloke looking for answers like the rest of us. We're all flawed. You are the guru. You are the leader you're looking for, not us. You know,
yeah.
We're all flawed. We've all been around. We've all had lives. We're just trying to work this stuff out, have fun at the same time, and chivvy people up.
Yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely.
Talk today about the, you know, that leads nicely on to the sort of teacher side of things as well, and about what the role of teachers are in your own personal journey. So how do you both feel about that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
First.
We've been so polite today. I wouldn't be anywhere. I mean, I started I was involved in starting 2 schools, kind of home schools, but schools in Morocco, because I got, I'm just going to go back to teaching as an actual thing, because I think teaching in and of itself is going to change hugely in the other side of this, because very few professionals have wound me up as much as teachers since I become a dad. And they're not teachers at all. They're just policy implementers, right? And they spend most of the time doing stuff that has nothing to do with education. And they've never asked a question about the things that they're educating people with. So I spend a lot of time telling my kids, look, okay, you don't have to go to school. If you choose to go to because you want to be with your friends, that is your choice. But you're going to have to unlearn the majority of what you've learned. And I remember watching Sir Ken Robinson's talk called Do Schools Kill Creativity, which is the most popular TED talk in history. Unfortunately, he's passed on now. But that video really woke me up to what schooling was about, because I worked really hard at school because I wanted to get into the military, and I had to get these pieces of paper, pieces of paper, which nobody's ever asked to see. You know, you work so hard, you stress so hard. I was telling my kids the other day, one of my friends committed suicide because he was so stressed about his university degree and not getting the grade that his parents wanted him to get.
Oh, God.
He stabbed himself in the stomach with a kitchen knife in a car park in Manchester. And he was all, I mean, this is insanity, right? That kind of education's got to be gone. And it's got to be, so you end up finding people that have had amazing, you know, I just spent 300 quid, I think, on a healer this morning that I found. And he's a tattooed English ex-junkie. Now that's my kind of teacher, because he's been through it, you know. And you know, my eldest son's doing an apprenticeship to be a sailing instructor because he loves sailing, and his teacher has been around the world. You know, he's a great teacher. He's replaced the classroom guy with the mask on with this guy out on the lake and on the ocean. And it's just that's what we should be doing, is searching for teachers that have been there, bought the t-shirt and done it and made mistakes, you know, but when that's not what we're presented with, you know. Most college education is a complete waste of time, you know, and it actually makes me cross that in this country, people don't generally get into work until they're 22. I mean, that's how many years is wasted just drinking or studying crap. And then you get a mortgage, and then you're in the system, and then you're in massive debt. I mean, have I rambled a bit about teaching? I think
so
I have.
what I want to know, yeah, so the good teachers, it's like you were saying earlier, and Brice and I have talked before, it's like there's never been a day going by where I haven't been studying something, but my needs will change. So a lot of people, like you were saying, Brice, will reach out to really educate themselves from all sorts of different sources when something is out of balance in their lives. So a classic example is like, you know, most people reach for natural health or Joe Dispenza if there's something really wrong in their life. But the point is, we don't have to wait till that stage. You know, it's a sad reality. You know, animals don't wait until animals in the wild never wait till they're really ill to start self-medicating. They self-medicate at the first sign that there's something going out of balance. And there's loads of studies to show that. But for some reason, sort of humans in our current society often, and of course this is a generalization, often we wait for something to be really wrong before we do something about it. And that's not a great survival strategy, basically.
I think we've lost the ability to. I think that was done intentionally. I think that because I know in my life with my health, I've always had really bad digestive problems. When I was a child, I was in and out of Eggleston Children's Hospital because I would wake up in the middle of the night throwing up. Like they could not figure out what was going on. I had all these different, and doctors would try these different things. Nothing worked. And it took me till my first trip in India to realize, well, first I realized it's part of that is being Rh negative in the blood type. And so that has a whole different slew of things attached to it, which I am Rh negative. And then the other thing I realized was I all of a sudden learned the doshas. I learned the doshas, which has been around in India since like the beginning of time. And I was like, holy shit, I'm Vata Pitta. And all these foods I've been told to eat that were healthy for me don't serve Vatas. And so my energetic body, because that's what a body is energy, was rejecting it. And I was literally like 33 years old and totally changed my diet to eat for my dosha. And I haven't had a problem with my digestive since. So it took me 33 years to find something that's actually very simple. It's just saying, you know, food is energy, your body is energy. Let's match the two to work together. And I've so many people, I've given them information. Of course, you have to go to school to be an Ayurvedic doctor. So please seek an Ayurvedic doctor if that's something you're interested in. But it's so simple. But yet I think we were trained and programmed for many generations to think of the body as being something separate from the energy of the soul, where the body is the expression of the soul. And so the medicine I think that's why I think animals know this. I think that's why animals won't eat certain food, but will eat, because they intuitively know this. And I think
give them a choice, because their survival instinct overrides that. So if you're feeding your animals kibble and canned food, but they haven't got a chance to go and hunt for themselves, then the poor buggers, it's that or die, and survival will override that. But yeah, it's so frustrating. You know, I can't remember, I've got a book, it will come to me before the end of the thing, but you know, one of these really good nutritionists said, you know, humans are the only species in the world that have lost the ability to feed themselves. But I think it's time to man up now, guys, and sort of say we've spoken so much about it's been done to us and things like that, but actually once that light goes on, we can't blame them anymore. We have to be
liberated
for ourselves.
Yeah, I was just thinking there, the word doctor used to mean teacher, right? And they you know, they don't teach anybody anything. And we have been trained, because we're trained to only go and see them when we're really sick. But the dis-ease in our system starts way before. By the time it's showing symptoms, you're usually at the point of no return, which is why they have because that's when they impose their allopathic con job onto us. And I think that's one of the best lessons of the last 2 years, is that so many people are waking up to how useless the health system has been, because it should be about teaching us and letting us know from a young age. I mean, just simple things like dock leaves are good for stinging nettles, you know? I mean, I grew up with loads of this stuff, knowledge that I didn't even, you know, it just passed on to me by my great grandfather. But most kids now don't even know what a dock leaf is.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's very exciting about the fact that, because it's such fun as well, and also it fits into every aspect of taking back your sovereignty and taking responsibility for yourself. And I think, yes, it is frustrating, and it's like you've got to get it out your system of like, oh my God, this is why I'm indoctrinated. But once you realize it's indoctrinated, you know, it's really helpful to shift the focus on, okay, what do I need to learn to get out of that in whatever area? You know, we were talking yesterday about council tax bills and electricity and gas bills and getting out of those, if that's something that resonates with you. It's never as simple as that, though. That's quite a complex issue. But, you know, whatever it is that's important to you and your family at that time, and there's so much information out there, and there is still a lot of knowledge there. And we've all spoken a lot about intuition, but at the end of the day, you know when you're putting something in your body, if you actually stop and take time to listen, your body will tell you whether it's serving you or not. You might
I can smell it.
Yeah,
I can smell it when it's not. I could walk into a restaurant, I know right away if it's not, it's the oil, I can smell it right away.
I drove past McDonald's this morning and there was a queue, and I was like, where I just, because I literally couldn't compute. I was like, are people still eating that stuff? Really?
I know.
It's nuts.
I know.
I'm in a natural health group for, I'm not going to say which one because that 100 on call, but I'm in a natural health group of a group of natural health practitioners that work with humans and animals. And when in the UK, I kid you not, when our first lockdown ended, there were so many mothers posting, yay, took the children to McDonald's, we could get back into McDonald's today. And I'm just like, God help the human race. You know, at some stage you have to, I do have to think, you know, these are people that had no excuse for not knowing better. Now, some people don't because they haven't had that light bulb go on, but these people have spent years training in all sorts of holistic health remedies and everything, and they were still proudly posting pictures of themselves and their fat kids having their first McDonald's after the lockdown. And, you know, I just, it was depressing.
In Mysore is where I go in India. It's in Karnataka, the state Karnataka, and there's so many different languages, but Kannada is the language they speak. And, you know, one thing I love about the Indian culture is they're very expressive with their body too. And beta is no, and they always go beta. And so now whenever I see that, I'm like, oh, beta, like, no, beta, no beta. So yeah, it's, I know, well, the McDonald's here, there's like 3 in my neighborhood. You drive, it's always got a line, always. And I think that's going to be one of the hardest things for people, because we become addicted, right? We understand that our body becomes addicted to certain chemicals. Mm-hmm. And so, but once we understand that knowledge is power, then you can start to shift that, you know. And of course here, I don't know about where it is over in the UK, but the health food, fast food, health food, like Help Me Crazy, these that do you to get like a freaking fruit bowl from Help Me Crazy is like $15. You know, it's so expensive. And so we're looking at people also, they've kind of put us in a situation where if you're not, you know, McDonald's has the dollar menu.
Yeah.
And I heard from someone, I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard this, that the apple pies that they sell at McDonald's, at least here in the United States, the apples are potatoes made to taste like apple.
Don't get me started on what's in McDonald's, because
no, that will get us banned straight away.
Yeah. So, I heard that rabbi interview 10 years ago. Oh.
Yeah, I did as well, Mark. And I tried telling all my family, and they have, and this is extended family, not immediate family. And it's been a standing joke in our family for years about, you know, my view of McDonald's and everything. And they take the piss out of me so much. And I so want to see them all throw up when they realize it was right. So it's like, sorry, I know that's not very spiritual, but I mean it.
No, that's okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm on many occasions I'm not. I still have that little elf gene in there. So
okay.
in terms of you've been doing loads of studying on that, Mark, and things. What else are you both being drawn to really put your attention towards at the moment?
Let me go first, Mark.
Me.
Yes.
Taking first tonight. Yeah.
Well, I've bought a huge amount of books over the last 2 years that I've not finished reading. And so I'm trying to do that when I go quiet. I'm trying to do that. And I'm trying to cook and eat outside every night, regardless of the weather. So I've got a little fire pit. I've been sitting outside. This is why I've seen 7 UFOs in the last 5 days, because I'm out and they're waving at me. And they're on my Telegram channel if you want to see the videos. What else have I been doing? Well, you know, I'm only a part-time podcast, so I've got 5 kids and I've got a business as well. So I've been busy with all of that kind of thing, but I'm never idle.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Well, I have no kids and I'm never idle. I have a dog and I'm never idle. But well, so you know, I think one thing I feel like I've been lucky. I feel like, you know, and I think you both probably would agree, when you turn around and look at your life, you realize every phase of your life was preparing you for the moment you're in now. And then every phase of your life is going to be preparing you for the moment you're going to be in 5 years from now. You know, it's everything is working out in such an amazing way. And one thing I've been really focused on now, especially here in the United States, everybody knows I'm a huge believer in exercise, like huge. But I have been down the path of having a body morphic disorder, of using exercise as a way to punish myself, which I think is a lot of, especially women, are in that position where they want to, and I lived in Los Angeles for a long time where no one's above a size 0, you know, and so you're constantly like killing yourself to look and be a certain size, and people will use exercise that way. But I was actually talking to Shanti from Aquarius Rising Africa about this. When we start to actually understand, when we start to break those chains of bondage, it's kind of like that beta. Once you know that they've been put there, you can just say beta no. You know, once you realize that your body, back to the food thing, your body is so incredibly powerful. And throughout all of your muscles and your blood and your DNA, you also carry energetic principles that come from your galactic heritage, that come from your soul's journey. And when we start to actually move the body in particular ways, what we do is we create new pathways in the body. We have 75,000 nadis in the body. We only really pay attention to 3 of them in the spiritual world. But regardless, all these pathways start to open. So the more you learn how to pull the pelvis in, the more you're awakening parts of your soul's power. And that's something I really want to start focusing to as well. When we try to get people, and we've been talking a lot about meditation, changing your vibrational frequency, but that is it as well. And that's something that I want to start moving forward, is helping people to see exercise not as something to punish you. Don't even think about calorie burning. Calories in, calories out. You'll eat more calories later, whatever. Think about what you're unlocking that's inside of you. That's your story, your power. And I do think, and that gives you, you know, they did try to not let us know that. They did try to keep us away from understanding that. But now that we're in this transitional phase where we're understanding there's a whole lot more to our story than we know, well, then what is your story? And that's the plot twist. That's the effing plot twist. You are the one that gets to figure that out, because I'm not in your body. For people watching, Mark's not in your body. Catherine's not in. Well, Mark can be in people's bodies because he's a man, but for women,
Beg your pardon.
I've been
for a long time.
But we're not, and that's why I tell my students all the time with the yoga, like I can only tell you the philosophy. I can only teach you the energetic points. It's your job to then turn that furnace on and do the work.
Are you going to do an online course doing this?
No, I've just been trying to talk about it. I mean, I teach courses. And my courses do always sell out. Thank you, everybody who for years now. But I do teach courses live. But I want to start talking about that more, so people, because it goes back to what we were talking about before with like chasing intel. Where has that gotten us now? Like we all, Catherine, you and I, all of us watching right now, we know the shady shit these people have done. We've mourned it. We've talked about it. We understand it. We have compassion. It's what drives us. It's what's put that fire under our ass to actually try to do something. But now we're at that phase where we can't just sit around chasing intel that we don't even know if it's real or not. But what we can do is take the action for ourselves. What we can do is awaken spiritually for ourselves. You know, and we do have at the base of the body, the pelvic floor, we do have this thing called Kundalini, which I know a lot of people think that's bad. It's not bad. Kundalini is the Christ consciousness. It's been inverted, but it is pure. Everybody has it. It's at the base of your pelvic floor. It's not an organ. Don't go tell your doctor it's broken. It's literally energetic body. All right. And for people who grew up in this down south in Georgia, those hot summer nights, you guys know you'll have air conditioning going, 5 fans going, and you'll still wake up sweaty. All right. So think about what happens when you get sweaty and uncomfortable. Your body starts to move. Well, when you start to do that with the Kundalini, when you start to move and you start to figure out your body, that Kundalini starts to move too. And then it starts to travel up that Sushumna, which is up the spine, into the top of the head. And bliss, and that's what gives you that liberation of the body. You're still in your body, but the bondage that's been created, because, you know, I heard somebody say once, I'm totally paraphrasing, like, if you're a child and you grow up bullied, eventually you start taking over for the bullies. And isn't that what's happened to humanity? We've been told certain things for many generations, but then we took over telling it to ourselves. Well, now the plot twist is, again, you get to rewrite that narrative. You get to rediscover yourself. I mean, Mark, we've talked about off camera about the Lyran group, the galactic group you come from.
Yeah. So I'm just going to make a phone call. Hello, is that the Georgia Fire Department? Could you go around to Brice's house? She's on fire. Thanks.
I think they're a plug away from me. The firemen.
Yeah. Can I also say that one of the things I think we've really lost is the fact of using that energy and doing it in things that our bodies are designed to do. So we've all been talking about a lot of getting back to a more natural lifestyle. And when you don't need to go to the gym to do all this stuff. You know,
no, you don't.
When you're gardening, when you're walking, when you're, you know, exercising, when you're looking after animals, when you're cooking properly, when you're going back to the good basics, when you're chopping wood, all the things that us humans are designed to do, it's so healing on every level, on a spiritual, on an emotional, on a physical, on an energetic level. And it really is getting back to those basics. And it's like, if you're fat, someone said this week, and I thought it was absolutely perfect. If you're a fat dog owner, your dog is not getting the right amount of exercise. Now, that's not being fat, it's just general. We do not move our bodies nearly enough anymore. We as a human species, a Labrador is designed to move 60 kilometers in a day, not frantically toss a stick for it to wear it out so that you can then lock it in the room for the whole thing. It's just been designed to be out doing, and we're designed to be out doing. So like Mark, you've taken your cooking outside, and anyone who knows that when you cook a proper meal, it takes effort, but it's so worth it. Look at the energy that you've poured into it rather than get something out of a plastic pot. And you know, I had a really good chat with Shanti and Mornay today on their solutions channel, and we were talking about all the natural remedies, because that's all my thing, about how you can use everything around you and the difference between food and medicine, and about how, for whether it's yourself or your animals, you can tune in and notice these things earlier. And if your body's out of balance, your mind is going to be out of balance, and vice versa. And some of these things, like you said, Mark, you know, your grandparents used to tell you. And yes, we can add to that because we've learned more knowledge since there. And sometimes we understand a bit more about why they work so well now. You know, some science can be a really good thing, but it's so much easier than people think, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So much. So much. I mean, I tell them.
Sorry, what do we do?
No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
No, I just remembered that when you were talking about the Kundalini thing, I had a flashback to, I think it was about 4 or 5 years ago, and I was in a nightclub, and this thing came. It felt like something had come into me, and I hadn't had any drugs or hardly any drink, but I just started dancing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like a mofo, right? In front of all these people just sat around their tables, and I was just dancing around. I couldn't help it, and it was such a profound experience. I got back and I had a energy healing session with a really good Irish guy called Tom. I can't remember his surname, but he's brilliant. And I told him about this, and he said that was you.
Yeah.
I said I thought something had possessed me. He said no, that was the Kundalini opening up your higher self and everything else. And I was like, whoa, it was the best trip.
Yeah, it's in the Yoga Sutras, this Patanjali calls it prativa. It comes in prativa, which is a flash of illumination. We have these prativa moments. And it's interesting, Catherine, because you're talking about the dancing and you were talking about getting your dog out walking. So in traditional Ashtanga or yoga, we start with what we call Surya Namaskar, which we, in English, that's the sun salutations. You're not saluting the sun. Surya is the sun is the symbol for pranic energy, the upward rising energy, and Namaskar is a greeting. So you do these sun salutations to move, to awaken this upward rising energy, and you feel that with your heart starts to race a little bit. You start to, and so I tell my students, instead of being like, oh God, I'm exercising, like go inside, feel the heart beating, see if you can feel your energy actually starting to move through your body. Your blood is the Shakti, it's the sacred DNA, it's the expression, it's the physical expression of that energetic property. That's it, physically expressing. It's like my friend Cindy says, you can't have Shiva without Shakti, Shiva Shakti, the soul, the expression. Feel that and know that that's you being alive. It's like when you go for a fast walk and allow our dance in your living room and then stop for a moment and just see if you can get into that and feel that essence. It's magical. And that's who you are. That's that energetic property. It's like whenever someone starts an exercise program and they've been on it for a couple of weeks, people often go, yeah, your eyes look clearer. It's not just the scientific properties of more oxygen, it's because you're moving stuff. You're becoming more alive. And that's the whole
thing. That's stagnant energy. It's so important. Yes. You know, all this. Any of us who've got dogs and cats and horses, they do the most brilliant yoga poses anyway, because they're always stretching themselves out. They're always, you know, they know how to move their bodies, and it's only when we restrict them. It's one of my biggest bugbears about horse riders, that we force the horses into a certain position. It's just barbaric, because to think the arrogance of a human thinking that they should know how a horse should carry its body more than the horse knows, it's ridiculous. But like with your bodies, you know, everyone, like you always say with the yoga, Brice, is it's not, you're not comparing, you don't have to look exactly the same in the pose as that person, because all your bodies are different and you've all got stagnation and energy blocks in different places. So therefore what we all need to do, but when you listen to your body and your breath, and again, if you're anyone who's got horses knows that one of the most important things to having that connection is controlling your breath.
Yeah.
Because when you control your breath, you're controlling your whole energy field. And the animal, you know, you are a predator species sitting on top of a prey animal. Hello, there's a recipe for disaster, and they need to know that you're safe and that you have control over yourself. Because do you want someone that's not got control over themselves jumping on your back? I don't think so. You know, it's so fascinating. There's so much people could do without spending a penny, isn't there? Oh, this is the thing I love. You can literally do so much of this without spending a penny and notice immediate results.
I mean, the breath is connected to your nervous system. And so if people start, I mean, that's why we teach people, like when you're doing extreme back bends and people, they all of a sudden hold their breath. Well, that's your nervous system giving you a message. So we're going to teach you to breathe through that. When you think about going with horses, like calming the breath down, you're calming down your nervous system, and they can pick up on that. But yeah, it's so, I mean, I told Shanti yesterday, we were talking about the Muladhara, which is the base chakra, which is also the Bunda that's there as well, which is a lock in the perineum that holds the energy in. And again, this is all energetic body, guys. This is not going to be in a biology book. And something you can do just to like start to wake that up, because that's where Kundalini is asleep. Take a ball, like a playground ball that your kids play with, put it in between your legs and do like 50 squeezes, and just see if you can feel the energy coming up through the inner thigh into your perineum. That's Mulabandha. Now, something interesting also happens because we carry anger in our inner thigh. And so you're going to start all of a sudden feel these sensations that have been locked and loaded in your body. It's almost like you're cleaning out the junk closet in your house, and you've got to go through this stuff and process it. I tell my now in India, they check your Mulabandha by sticking their hand in between your legs to check. I can't do that here in the United States. I don't think you guys can do that in the UK either. And as I said with Shanti, it's not weird in India. It's just strangely, it's not weird when that happens in India.
That was called the cough and drop in the Air Force.
Yes. It's just like, it is what you know, but I tell my students, like when I watch their big toe, like in practice, if their big toe is coming up off the mat, I then know as their teacher that they're not engaging they're not connected to their bandha, because that big toe is the root. If this is my leg, that big toe is pressing, that energy is coming all the way up through the inner thigh into the perineum. And so if this big toe is off the mat, then this is dead. That pathway is dead.
I'm going to stand up now and see where my toes are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm dead.
Dead. Yeah. There's no energy coming there. But again, that gets into, especially for women, especially, I know, Catherine, you and I have talked about this. Like, I was raised a certain way and I, you know, a certain ladylike. And so you don't even want to think about that area of your body. But this isn't about sex. It's about the power that's at the it's like a tree. You know, the tree is rooted in, and Shanti says this, I love it. She says, if the roots are grounded strong enough, then the tree doesn't fear the wind. And that's where you start. You descend to then ascend. Yeah. And you don't have to go and buy an expensive gym membership. You don't have to go and pay all this money. These are simple things that you can explore in your own home. Turn some music on and just dance. See where your body goes. And while you're in that moment, see what comes alive. And that's you taking your power back.
Mm.
Yeah, I did do a few videos during the start of the lockdown of me dancing in the kitchen, but it was a bit embarrassing for my kids, so I stopped it.
Yeah, that is when I get called mum dancing. People say to me, why do I dance like a Masamara warrior? Because I just leap all over the place. But you feel it the next day. But dancing and music and energy and vibration. So I think everyone should really experiment this week. Let's all experiment.
Yeah, go wild, go crazy. Get outside. Get your top off. Take it, you know, even if it's cold, take your top off. Get on the beach, go for a swim in the sea, the lake, whatever you've got nearby. Yeah.
Splash in a puddle. Like, look at how little kids are always splashing in a puddle, regardless of what the weather is. You put a toddler outside, if they see a puddle, they're going to be sitting in it, aren't they?
Oh, they don't care.
Yeah.
I shared that. I'll tell you guys there, speaking of being outside, I shared this on my community tab a while ago. There's a really funny YouTube. It's a UK couple and they like do practical jokes on each other. And the girl and the guy had gone to a vacation on a beach. And they're both a little overweight, you know, and the girl bought him bathing suits that dissolve in the water. But she told him it was his mom had gotten it for him. And so he's literally waddling because they're overweight down to the beach and he's getting in and a wave knocks him over. And all of a sudden you see him start like, and she's losing it because he's literally, and she won't come to him. He had to run all the way back with his bum hanging out. And, you know, it was hysterical.
I give the link to that. I want to watch that.
I'll send it to you, Mark. It made me, I mean, I've watched it over and over and over again because it is so funny. But, you know, laughter is part of awakening as well, right? I mean, the darkness doesn't know how to laugh. You want to scare a demon off? Laugh at it.
Yeah.
He was such a good sport on that video. You'll love it, Mark, because he really did take it well. I mean, most people would have not have taken it as well as he did, but he was so funny. He was like, they've just seen my winky, you know. Because there's this family on the beach who are wetting themselves laughing, but he was a very good sport, that man, I must say. I thought he deserved a medal.
I'll reshare it on my Twitter too for you guys if you need a good laugh, because that's like relationship goals.
It was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. I wouldn't have been laughing like he was. If someone had done that to me, I would be in counselling for a long while. I don't think I'd have took it so well as he did. So any parting words? Do you want to play us out with your poem, Mark, your new poem? Or is it not YouTube friendly?
I could show you it and then you could decide. It's a short one, so it's here.
They're having a real cull of channels at the moment, aren't they?
They are.
Let's have a look.
There it is. It's probably not YouTube friendly.
No, so what we'll do, so that's on your Telegram channel. So look, guys, you'll know where to find that, and it will be on your website as well, won't it?
It's not there yet because I'm going to make a video of it, and I haven't done it yet.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
Well, remember to have that ball between your thighs when you're making the video, please. We were.
Well, I will say,
I've got two balls between my thighs 24 hours a day.
So that's true. A bigger ball though, Mark, a bigger ball.
So I thought it was really slow then.
I will say too, Mark, I have gotten so many, because I shared your poem, the Starred Seed poem, on my community tab, my Twitter, and I just sent it to some people I know who needed just to hear it. And I got so many responses back, people in tears, just thanking you for that poem. Your poem really is healing people. And I know we like to laugh and joke, but from the bottom of my heart, from everyone that's messaged me about that poem, you are affecting so many people that you don't know, have felt so not alone, and have put that poem on repeat. And just so thank you, Mark, from everybody who's texted me since I know you. I'm telling you, thank you from them.
Well, I mean, it is amazing. It really is amazing. Yeah, I've read a lot of those. But, you know, if you want an antidote to that, then don't forget, I also do poems like this, which I'm certainly not going to play. There's some very rude words in some of my poems, let me tell you. You know, Shakespeare was bawdy.
Yeah. They're passion words. They're just passion words.
Go and take a look, give yourselves a giggle, everyone, and then let's hear all your funny comments below of all the things you're doing to wake your Kundalini.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And then we should get them on as guests to tell us on a round.
We want to hear. We
the
really
funniest ones.
You'll have to host that one, Mark, because you know how to do that, and I don't. Host it. But I really think it's important, because get out there, move, and just have fun with it. You know, have fun, have a giggle, and send us some pictures.
Yeah, and it's spiritual, guys. You're using your body for a spiritual purpose. That's what you're doing. Who cares if you wear a size 0? I don't care. I haven't worn jeans forever. I wear yoga pants every day. So, yeah, it's spiritually waking you up. So do it, because everybody watching, you're a fucking badass, and you were put here on this earth at this time because you're a badass. As I told you in the last episode, Mark and Catherine, I had a memory. I thought it was a vision, but apparently it was a memory, because a lot of people have had it, of the angels bowing as we came to take this life. That's how powerful you are. Own it.
You better believe it.
Thanks everyone for watching.
1 o'clock. See you later.
Yeah. Thanks everyone. Have fun. Have a good weekend. Bye.
Have a great weekend, guys. Love you. Bye-bye.